You're watching Badas Lady-Folk. I'm Christine Stoddard, and this episode I'm so excited to welcome Khaholi Bailey. Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. How about you?
I'm great, and you have a new book out, so you should be extra great.
I am extra great. So it's 6-month anniversary about now. Yeah. This is my book. This is my baby.
I mean, that's new for a book.
It's pretty new for a book. I'm almost dreading when the book becomes old and then it's just like another book out there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I'm enjoying this new time. Yeah, for sure.
So tell me about your 6-month-old.
My 6-month-old, she's beautiful. She's pink.
She is very pink.
She's doing pretty well, I think. I'm just glad that it's over. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
Like, draft number 85, final draft number 5, final draft number 10. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
The miseducation of a 90s baby, but not a reference to Lauryn Hill.
It is not. And I'm technically not a 90s baby. I was born in 87.
Okay, yeah, relatable.
Yeah. It's not the same ring to it, right? Yeah. Nothing to do with Lauryn Hill, but we do talk about music, mainly in sync. Right? And, you know, music, it was in my house growing up like anyone else's house. So when I hear certain songs or certain people like Shaka Khan, it reminds me of like fish fry at Aunt Michelle's house, stuff like that, you know? So there are some music references for sure. And obviously the cover, you know.
So how did it come to be after so many drafts? Like, what's the origin story here?
Of the book? So I didn't have a book to publish when I met the publisher, actually.
Clash Books.
Clash Books, yes. So I did a reading in Brooklyn for a literary magazine called Breadcrumbs a couple of years ago. I published some sort of stream of consciousness style fiction. And Lisa Cantoral, she's one of the founding members of Clash Books. She also had some poetry, I think, published in Breadcrumbs. So we read together, we met, and they said, well, do you have anything else that's nonfiction? And I really didn't have much else because I went to school for fiction, thinking I was going to be some fiction person. One day, maybe.
Still plenty of time.
Still plenty of time, right? So, yeah, they asked what I can show them as far as nonfiction. I showed them a few things that actually didn't really make the book. And they were like, great, could you make a book out of this kind of thing? I'm like, sure. I mean, they had nothing but time, you know. So it took maybe like 2 years, but then here we are, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So from one literary reading
Yes.
and also a publication, let's not discount that.
Right, of course.
You got a book.
Yeah, word. You just never know. Like, one step opens one. It sounds so corny, but it's so true. You know what I'm saying? One person you meet has one person they, you know, introduce you to, and before you know it, you got a whole book, you know? So, yeah, it felt very serendipitous for sure.
I'm a big believer in that kind of stuff, and I don't care if it's corny. I love cornball stuff.
I love cornball stuff. I'm like the positive affirmation queen. Like,
Yes.
I'm such a mom at this point. It's
Yes.
disgusting. But it's true. It works. Everything your mom says, listen to her, honestly. Yeah.
So could you talk about what the writing process was?
I think 2 of those essays I actually started in a college workshop class. I went to Hunter College, and part of the curriculum.
CUNY.
Yeah, CUNY. Woo, woo. Yeah, no debt. Right. So I went to school for fiction, and I took all these fiction classes. Where they say, well, you have to round yourself out. You have to take one nonfiction class. So I took it. I fell in love. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I took a few seeds of that. I think the marijuana story and one of the other ones I forgot. But it started in that class, and you know. When you look back at something you wrote a few years ago and you are different, hopefully better, you know what I'm saying? You kind of chip away at it and polish it up. Everything else, I thought of the concepts, kind of like the titles of the essays, and ran it by Christoph, who also founded Clash Books. And every time I got a yes, I just kept rolling with it. And yeah, like I said, you only need that one little light, and then, you know, the path is out there.
Yeah, for viewers, Clash Books is run by Lisa and Christoph. It's a husband-wife team. Now they're based in Troy, New York. What was working with them like? Because viewers should also know I've worked with them. I've had my positive experiences. And I'd love to hear about what that back and forth was like.
Actually, it wasn't too much back and forth. When I think about it, they were like totally chill. I was like, yeah, I think you have a strong voice. Let's just roll with that. You know what I'm saying? And it really was just that.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, there was some back and forth about I guess like the topics, what would they be? Obviously, they had some edits for me. But when I came to get started, there was like, here's a very simple contract. I think it was like 2 pages. You know what I'm saying? It was like, all right, we're ready when you are. You know, it was awesome. And I'm very like a laid back person. As much as I like charts and schedules, I'm horrible at adhering to them. So
You like to be the one organizing and imposing, but not having to follow the rules.
I actually would like someone to give me the rules so that I can have a benchmark. Otherwise, I can just sit there and say, oh, what about this for like 10 years? You know what I'm saying?
So like a dreamer mentality.
For sure.
Very dreamy.
Yeah. So they kind of wrote me in. You know what I'm saying? This is where I want your first draft. And I think they do what my sister does. If I have to meet them for something, she'll say it's 4 o'clock when it's really, like 6 o'clock? You know, I'm like late. So I think they did that. They asked me a first draft, but then it was a lot more time for me to give like, oh, technically this is my 1.5 draft. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And yeah, just feedback here, feedback there. It was really simple, honestly. Yeah, Clash is amazing.
Was there any point in the process where you doubted yourself?
Even now. The second to last reading, I had the last reading with you actually last week. The day before I had a reading, and it was at someone's apartment, and it was lovely. And everyone else there was a doctor of something.
A doctor?
Yeah, just doctors. I don't even know. I
like
bought all their books.
PhD kind of doctor,
One
not
was a
like
PhD. Another one, one was like I wish I knew their names at the moment. But one was a doctor. She was talking about like environmental things, how to make our economy match our farms. I'm not a doctor. I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
lots of super academic stuff.
Right. Another one had about panic. It was called Panic Proof. That's the name of one person's book at least, and she's a doctor of something. And she was here to tell us, like, you know, people have a lot of panic attacks now, but this is how you can kind of talk yourself out of it. That's the kind of the synopsis.
I like that one.
Yeah. I bought it one day. You know, when I start procrastinating and panicking, I'll actually open it. And 2 were teachers. One was a poet at Columbia or NYU, and another one worked for the school system and wrote a young adult novel. So anytime I meet a person, you know, who is doing stuff or they just write only, you know, that's all they do. They don't have a day job. I'm like, wow, I'm faking it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it still has. I don't know if that'll ever go away.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a good thing if it doesn't go away because I don't want to slip into vanity. I can definitely see that happening. You know what I'm saying?
Why? Why?
I Google myself like every other day. Nothing's changed. I've done nothing between the last time I Googled myself, but somehow, you know, the internet's just going to have this big page of me or something. I don't even know what I'm looking for. But I can certainly see how it could kind of slip into it. And, yeah, I'm going to try to avoid that as much as I can.
I mean, you've written quite a bit about pop culture, so I do wonder about how fame and celebrity, or at least the ideas of these things, influences and or inspires you.
Well, I guess because I've written about it, and I know we heard a million stories about how it's the devil, and I've always been kind of a quiet, reticent person in general. It was never really something I was hoping for. In fact, I really didn't even want my picture in the back of the book. I just thought it should just be about, hopefully someone can, you know, resonate with what I'm saying, and it'll just be about the work and not about me, you know what I'm saying? Which I kind of like that my name is kind of forgettable in a way, or...
Forgettable?
Or if you can't read it, you just something with a K, you know, it's just in the back of your mind.
Well, now I'm thinking it kind of rhymes with Fern Gully, so...
You'd be surprised how many
Can't
times
forget
that. Yeah, so I would like to avoid that at all costs, for sure. But I guess as far as pop culture, I think it's like kind of this umbrella over us. And we know that in a way, but I think a lot of us also shy away from the fact that we are highly impressionable, even as adults. So I think it's interesting that we have this thing that we know it's influencing us many times for the worse, and we just keep consuming it. And I'll never stop, you know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. You know? I think knowing that it could harm you is most of the battle, if you're not going to go hard and give it all away, because it is what it is at this point, you know.
Do any of your professors at Hunter know that you've published a book?
I sent it to 2 of them. I sent the ARCs to 2 of them, the advanced reader copies. Did I get a response? Of course not.
No!
So I sent it to 2. One was a fiction professor that I took his class, or 2 different classes of his twice. I don't think he remembers me, but he gave me a really great feedback on this fiction piece, which is the only piece of fiction I actually have published now. So he stood out to me, and I sent it to him. I'm not sure if this is really his because, I'm not sure if they're like the target audience for this
Okay,
book.
okay.
And the other one I sent to Professor Greenberg. She did the nonfiction class that I thought I wasn't going to like, but then I ended up putting some of that in this book. So hopefully she gets to it one day. That'd be nice.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm not sure if they know.
So who do you hope is the audience for this book?
I think women my age. I would like people to, I do like when I get like DMs from people that I don't know that it's like, oh my God, I was totally feeling the same way about my tits or whatever it was, about NSYNC or religion, whatever it was. That means a lot to me. And I think also, at least it was easy for me, and I gather from a lot of people I've spoken to, I had this feeling like everyone else's life was normal somehow, and mine was not, right?
Right.
I don't even know where we get that from pop culture, right? You watch a
Right.
TV show, the sitcom's over in 30 minutes, you hit all the marks, you're done. So when you go through times where you're not hitting any of those beats, it kind of feels like, well, I'm standing alone. I'm the weirdest person in the whole world. You know what I'm saying? But when you put it down in a book and people say, you're not weird at all, I think about this all the time. Or
Yeah.
I've never maybe said it out loud or articulated it to somebody, but that's what I like, the kind of camaraderie of people of that era.
What advice would you have to other women who might want to write a book of essays but are, for whatever reason, hesitant to do it?
Well, to be corny again, just write, like they say, right?
Yeah.
Especially now. Before, if it was the 90s and you have like 5 publishers, like you're asked out essentially. But now you can pick up Eliza and Christoph somewhere, you know what I'm saying? And they can hold your hand right through it. So definitely just do it. Don't be afraid of yourself. I think for me too, it's like when I want to write something, and I've heard other writers say this, you kind of feel it brewing, even though you don't have the words for it. And it's not going to be an exact match. In fact, Lisa, she has a collection of poetry where she mentions that, like, you're trying to pinpoint that feeling. You're probably closest you're going to get is 99%. Just get there. Get to your 99, because if you wait for the 100, you're going to be waiting until you're 100 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh,
So
if you get there.
if you get there at all, right? For sure. Anything else? Yeah, you just never know. You just never know putting yourself out there, what that means, and who you're going to meet. And it's just worth a try, if only just to say that you tried and did it.
Yeah.
For sure.
How would you say your experiences as a New Yorker, a Brooklynite, a Long Islander have influenced your writing?
I always liked the city, even when I lived in Long Island, maybe especially when I lived in Long Island. So
Longing, yearning.
like, it's so boring here. Fuck, you know what I'm saying? I didn't, even as a kid, I just felt so restless looking at like the beautiful streets and the clouds and the beautiful grass. It's like nothing is happening, you know. So every time my parents lived in Brooklyn together. My parents split. Me and my sisters went to live with my dad in Long Island, and my mom stayed in the city. So the weekends were in the city, and we can just walk on the promenade and stop at a restaurant and do all these like city things, you know what I'm saying? So I guess having that dichotomy was always cool, because you can always come back to Long Island on a quiet Sunday and just enjoy the crickets, you know? But it's always nice, I guess, knowing that the city was there. If I wanted some excitement, somehow it's, you know, New York City is right there. So I guess I always had in my head that things can always be more, you know? But now that I'm an adult and I live in the city, when I think about having a private space to walk with like no shoes and not like properly dressed, like that's the dream. Like, you know, when you get older, you just know more, I guess. I still love it here in the city, but you know, it was nice kind of growing up in both ways for sure. Yeah.
What sort of dreams do you have now? I mean, you just mentioned like daydreaming of the city as a kid. So how have some of those sort of daydreams evolved?
I still daydream a lot. Mostly trying to fix things, I guess, in my head, like give myself a blueprint, like this is what's going to happen. Best case scenario, of course. But like I said, I still have like half of my mind in fiction, you know? So I'm always thinking about the strangest, weirdest, like the stranger the story, the more interested I am in it, you know? So, yeah, I just think of anything and everything, or I take something that I think could be weirder and try to make it weirder in my mind. But again, don't take my word for it. I got one thing published in fiction so far.
So are you still writing, or are you taking a breather?
Oh yeah, you can't take a breather. I think it's like an exercise. You got to keep it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm always writing. I'm always writing fiction and nonfiction. I'm one of those people who have like 50,000 notebooks with like half-written novels in there. You know, I find it in 5 years, like, oh, this is pretty good. I'm going to finish this one day, and just never get to it. You know? But yeah, I'm always writing. But I think it's also important to like take your time with some things. You know, sometimes I'm like, well, it could be done. It just needs another chapter, another page, or whatever it was. But if that page takes you a year to write, just let it take a year.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to regret it later when you read it and you go, oh, I just wrapped this up because I was bored or tired of it and I want it to be done. But do you want it to be done or do you want it to be done right? Whatever you consider is right.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Is writing something that your family noticed about you from the time you were little? Is it something you came to when you were older? Is it something you've been doing, but it was more of a private thing?
I would say it's something I came to when I was older. When I was younger, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do or be, right? Besides an astronaut. I'll keep you posted on that.
Obviously.
Obviously. But besides that, I thought, well, if it's not a creative endeavor, it just seems like a waste of time. I just didn't understand why someone would want to do something with their life that wasn't creative, you know? I didn't necessarily flock to writing necessarily. It was more like a decision in a way. I knew I wanted to do something creative. I don't have the chops or the balls to be like a musician or something, right? That takes a lot. And like I said, I'm kind of a quiet person. I like to ruminate about things. Reading is one of those things that you can read the same sentence over and over again and find something new in that sentence next year. And that's what I really like about it. So I figured, I think I might be able to do this. It's funny, my mom, who lives in Atlanta, she has all these boxes from when she moved to New York, and she found my first short story that I wrote for 5th grade. I didn't write it on my own accord. It was part of the curriculum. My teacher was like really heavy into creative writing. And she used to do the workshop, which is you stand in front of the class or on the stool, and you read the whole story. And you wait for critiques. And I thought, why would anybody want to do that? But people were doing it. Other kids with more bravery than I was doing it. And the teacher was like, I think this is really good. I think you should workshop this. And I'm like, absolutely fucking not. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. I'd rather die. Like, there was no way I was going to do it. And she knew that. So, like, one of the last days of the workshop, she says, well, I'm going to read your story in front of the class. And I just put my head down. And I just tried
while she read it?
The entire time. And then, thank God, she read it at the end of the day. So when that bell rang, I just walked out. And I don't know what anybody thought about it till this day, but I got an A. That's what my mom showed me the other day on FaceTime. So yeah, that's my only like pre-college writing. Everything else was more like, diary, this and that, but nothing serious now.
But did you draw from your diaries at all in writing the essays?
Oh no, my diaries were fake. Like they were
What?
What
do you mean?
Because my mom, she would always like buy stuff. Like, this is the special purse you can keep your feminine products in because it's nice. This is the special diary. And look how embroidered it is. And it has the lock. And it's like a nice little trinket to bring your daughters. But because of watching TV and movies, I'm like, well, what are you supposed to write in your diary? I have this kind of crush on a boy. I don't really think about him that much, but I gotta fill up these pages. You know what I'm saying? So it was BS. I was like, who was I trying to be? I guess some character on a TV. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't me. I knew it then. I know it now. If I look at like some of the sentences I wrote, they were like, where did you hear that? Like on Sabrina the Teenage Witch or something? I don't know.
There was just something very performative about it.
It was ridiculous. And no, it was not like I was giving it to people to read. It was just for myself. I was performing for myself with this fake diary for this fake girl, so.
I know I would do that to an extent, partially because my mom would read them.
Oh, no.
Yes. Okay. No privacy.
Okay. So everything was in your mind after a certain age, I'm guessing. Really, Bible study was great.
The best. So where do you want to take your writing? What do you want to do next? I know that can be an anxiety-inducing question, so tackle that however you want.
I don't even want to think about that.
Okay.
Because
Good for you.
like I said, I'm performing for fake people. You know what I'm saying, in my
Yeah.
mind. So if I were to say, like, I'm going to write something about this, and then I'm going to feel like I have to adhere to it, even if I realize 5 pages in, I'm not really interested in this.
Right.
So, like I said about just letting things marinate, taking its own time to kind of flesh out. If you don't have the answer to how that scene's going to end, you might have an experience next month that's going to tell you, you know? So I just want to leave it open. I have a lot of starters out there and a lot of different, like, folders within my notes section on my phone. You know what I'm saying? I'm jotting down, like, sentences here and there, and I'm not going to look at it until, I don't know, whenever I feel it, and hopefully it means something then. But yeah, no time frame right now. Try to relax a little bit or enjoy this. It's only been 6 months, I tell myself.
Yeah,
you know?
only 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay, so if somebody's wondering if they should drop this in their Jeff Bezos cart or order directly from Clash Books,
you
what a
can.
concept.
Right. I get more money that way.
You do get more money, and they would be supporting a small press that way, a family-owned small press. If somebody's debating whether to buy this or not, what's your elevator pitch? Sorry, that's shitty of me.
Yeah,
but
whoa, yeah. If you like bits of nostalgia, if you like, I don't know, I have no idea. If you like honesty,
teenage vulnerability.
I would say, yeah. If you like NSYNC, if you ever had a hair relaxer or any kind of hair situation that you had to climb yourself out of decades later, if you've ever experienced a death in the family, if you curious about the slang terms you used to use and what that means to you now.
I feel like humor. There's humor in there.
It's so hard to say buy it because it's funny. Because the moment you say you're funny or someone else says you're funny, like, oh, let's see how funny she
becomes
is.
a test.
It's not serious, I'll say. If you laugh, great. I think it's under some of the humor categories in Amazon, so I guess that speaks for itself. But yeah, I'm not saying it from over here. And if you're on the fence, I just say buy it, you know? It's only $16.95, and usually it's on sale. So. And you can buy the Kindle version for like $5.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's
there
a
you go.
coffee,
That's
know?
a coffee. And if you're like me and you wait for like the Amazon delivery day and you get all those digital credits, all your ebooks are free, basically.
Amazing. Amazing.
So yeah, if you're on the fence, just buy it.
If you want to support a Black woman, if you want to
go.
support a native New Yorker.
There you go. If you want to support someone who's 5'6", if you want to,
Very specific.
yeah, whatever I am. If you'd like to support, go ahead and buy this book.
Okay, you did mention earlier about how you had this idea, I have to do something creative early on, and I definitely can connect with that. Were there, you said, I don't have the chops for music or whatever. Were there other creative things that you wanted to do or considered doing or even tried out for a little bit?
I mean, I was always a part of stuff, as my sister says.
Stuff.
Like, just stuff. Like, I was a cheerleader or on the step team
So some kind of dancing, movement, right?
Movement, or I just felt like it was nice to have something besides school, besides friends, besides, something.
Besides friends.
I feel like I need a lot of stimulation in a way. So like to have an extra endeavor is always a great idea. What was your initial question? I totally forgot.
Just about creative stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff,
Just
to
stuff.
use your sister's word. Or are there creative things that you do now as a pastime?
I'm obsessed with my hair, so that's something. That's YouTube. But I usually try to pour everything into writing.
Yeah.
I think especially as an adult, you have so much more responsibilities on your shoulder. So it's like, if I have this extra time, this extra energy, I should make it something productive. You know what I'm saying? But as far as like creative endeavors when I was a kid, I really wish I could say I was some prodigy in this way, or I was really into something. People are in these interviews like, oh, I knew this when I was 3 years old. You know what I'm saying? even when I say I was on this dance team or that little club, it was anything super serious to me. It was nothing I told my parents, oh, we have to get extra lessons outside of school because, band class is just not enough. You know what I'm saying? I was just kind of a little bit here, a little bit there. Even when I went to Hunter, I didn't have a major in mind. I just went to Hunter from the other colleges that I got accepted to because they had a wide range of majors. So I thought if I don't know, Hunter's probably a good bet.
Yeah. And it's respected, especially among the CUNYs. Like, many people say, oh, Hunter's the best one, right? Or
that's what I say, at least. But yeah, I really didn't know. And I think that's okay. Because I feel like, especially with other writers and stuff that I admire, they've been like, oh yeah, I used to put my stuffed animals in all my friends in the neighborhood, and they used to do all my plays, and I didn't have that experience. So it's okay to be like a normal kind of lazy kid, and when you're an adult and you realize, oh, I didn't do anything, I can write a book.
But all those life experiences you had that weren't writing shaped you, right? You can write about something besides reading, because we all know those writers who just want to talk about how smart they are, how educated they read this and that, and okay, but that doesn't feel real.
If I was that smart and that educated, that's all I would talk about, honestly. That's all I have.
All right, that's almost all the time that we have. But was there anything you wanted to add really quickly?
Buy my book. Buy all the Clash books, including Miss Stoddard's here.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Heaven is a Photograph.
Heaven is a Photograph. And that's all. Have a great day.
Yay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
Dear
me.
viewers, you have been watching Badass Lady-Folk. I'm your host, Christine Stoddard. Until next time, bye.